Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going good.
That's good to hear. Um, yeah, I figured that since with it being the last session, I figured I'd pass it to you. What are you up for today?
Well, I was thinking to myself a little earlier, like, kind of the talking points, and the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about has to do with Tipped Off 15, since that was the tournament that I went to over the weekend. And just how, like, I kind of have come to the conclusion that I don't think I want to enter tournaments when I just don't have that genuine want to play Melee.
Yeah.
That was kind of the running theme of the weekend for me.
I think that's a really good idea.
So yeah, that's what I had in mind.
Yeah, okay. So I mean like I agree with that, but what's so talk to me about the experience. Like what led you I guess to this conclusion? And yeah, cuz I don't think you should do things that you don't want to do, to be clear. Um
Mhm.
yeah, like the game, if the game feels like a chore, then like that, I think that's something very valid and it's telling you something. So,
Yeah. So I guess to give like some context, in the like past month, I've kind of we've like had discussions about like, me not forcing myself to play and playing when I like have a genuine want to do so, and that it feels a lot better and a lot more fun and engaging to play and fulfilling really when I play it when it's something I'm genuinely like interested in, or it's fun, or have an idea or something that I want to
yeah.
do. But that's just happened like less and less, especially in the last like 2 weeks leading up to the event.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I said I wanted to like play ranked to get practice for the tournament, I only played it like 2 different days in the week leading up to the event or so. I didn't really play all that much because again I was just pretty preoccupied with doing other things that I wanted to do more than play Melee.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to me actually going to the tournament, because I'd already registered and had things lined up, and I wasn't like I didn't want to go. Like I still wanted to go. If anything, I was like looking forward to it because I was like thinking I'm gonna have fun with this. I want to have fun because last year was a lot of fun. So this year should be the same, right? Well, I go there and I don't know, like the actual tournament itself. First of all, just from walking around the venue, I immediately noticed there was a distinct different layout and how things were, and I noticed that there were much less setups this year than there
Oof.
were last year. So last year, what was made it so great was there was a lot of setups in like the tournament room, which was upstairs in this kind of like auditorium-ish kind of place,
Yeah.
where that room this year was used for the side stream. So there were literally only 8 CRTs in that entire large space, but plenty of room to stand around as a spectator.
How many were there last
Um,
year? Like 20, 30?
oh, yeah, like at least I want to say like 10 or so tables worth of setups. So yeah, something like 30 plus setups. Plenty for friendlies slash, running the pools all in that one room. Um, and then again, talking about the setups from last year, there was this game room that's on that same floor, but like kind of on the other side of the building a little bit. And that game room had like lots of setups. There was like a big table in like the middle that had a whole bunch of setups that was later on used for doubles and stuff. But then there was all these setups that were on along the wall, and there was no tournament being ran. Like that was a pure like friendlies only, pretty much like designated area for playing friendlies or doing whatever. Pretty much anyone's game, and it never felt like I couldn't find anywhere to sit to play someone. Like if I wanted to play, I could sit down and I could play people very easily. Um, and then last year as well. Didn't really use the downstairs area that much. I think there was maybe a handful of setups, but most of the tournament was on the top floor. But
Hmm.
this year, all the pools are ran in 8 different pools all on the bottom floor. And so that's fine because like you need a lot of space and a lot of setups to like run the pools, but that game room had changed to where there's not as much space there anymore. They put up like some walls. They have a whole bunch of like PC setups and stuff. Like they literally have a whole section that has been dedicated to like, PC esports and the like, and there's like LCDs and these like glass walls and things. So there's not nearly as much space this time around as there was a year ago.
Hmm.
So there were only a couple of setups that people just kind of littered about in there, like stray, but there wasn't an abundance. So when I walk in there to see if there's friendlies to play, every single TV basically has like 4+ people,
Yeah.
guaranteed. They're completely full, and I'm not gonna sit around and wait to play complete strangers that I don't know. And like, I just
It
I'm not
wasn't a
like
good time.
yeah, I'm not like really there to make friends exactly. Like I don't mind seeing the people that I've already been acquainted with, and especially seeing people I haven't seen in a long time. But I'm not really trying to sit down with someone that I don't know, or like especially wait on a group just because I'm fiending that hard. Because like I don't know, I'm not trying to be like the typical smasher that's like they're just vultures where they just are only wanting to play the game and they just completely subvert all social expectations. I
Yeah.
just I just don't like that. I don't like doing that. So
That's just
walking
not
around,
you.
yeah, no, it's not me. It's not what I want to do either.
Hmm.
Um, so walking around and seeing all these like stray setups just being completely occupied and hounded on basically is like, well, I guess I'm just not going to be able to play much at all. Because like I said, the side stream room had only 8 CRTs, and those were dedicated only to tournament and being on stream. And then the main stream was cool because like the auditorium where the top 8 stuff that was just open like the entire weekend, so you could go in there and sit up there and watch like higher level matches. So that was cool. Like the spectator experience definitely was really good at this tournament. Don't get me wrong. Like watching the tournament, just even on like day one, phenomenal. But as far as like wanting to play and get friendlies, uh, not very good. I really struggle. Like I said, I really struggled to find setups to play on. Not to mention, I just felt like it just felt really crowded, especially on the bottom floor, where like the pools and stuff were happening. Like I would try to like find setups where people were maybe like, there's only 2 people and I could squeeze in as a third. But even as many as those that I found, there weren't enough chairs. Like I'd have to stand up and my feet were already hurting enough as is
No,
walking
that's no
around
good.
and yeah, and spectating. So like I just as time went like I had a 5 p.m. pool. I had the latest wave possible. So like there's no worry about, oh, I have a very early pool, so I don't have time to warm up. I had all the time in the entire tournament to warm up, and I literally didn't even get to play my first like actual friendly against another person until like 15 minutes before my pool started.
Brutal.
And I don't really blame the tournament itself for that. Like partially I do, but I also it's just not in my nature. Like some people just don't care. Some people are like, "Hey, is this tournament? Hey, can I get in next? Hey, let's get this TV after these people leave." Like people like plan that like crazy, and I'm like, that's not really what I was there for. I was there to try to have a good time. I wanted to cheer on people from North Carolina, which I got to do plenty of. I was having a lot of fun, basically up until the point where I was thinking, man, I kind of should be, prepping to actually play the game and make sure I'm at least decently warmed up so that I play well. Um, so yeah, that like was a pervasive thing that like kept coming up in my mind as I kept like walking around and watching things. And like I said, I wasn't even really trying to socialize that much because it's kind of hard to with how noisy it is
Yeah.
and all that. So yeah, the feeling of I'm not sure if I really want to be here kind of started creeping up like more, especially once it got closer to my pool. I was even starting to think my pool was too late because it's like, oh geez, now I'm starting to get like tired. I'm starting to have my feet like hurt
Hungry.
a bunch. And well, food I wasn't worried about because I actually like ate the morning of, and I brought snacks to put in my backpack. So,
okay, so
I never had to worry about food. Yeah.
That's a common one though. Like especially if you're one of the people who like kind of don't eat much on tournament day, like yeah, that can having the late pool can be kind of like precarious for you. But it sounds like you've got like that covered. But yeah, like everything else, like especially your feet, brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, so like energy levels already were kind of some like half depleted or so by the time my pool came. So when I actually played in tournament, like I don't know, my round one was someone that literally kept telling me that like I don't play this game, pick the stage for me. But they were fun though. Like it was a fun person to play against, and I actually like that was probably the most enjoyable tournament set. Unironically, just because they were a good sport about it, and
I love those
I was
people.
like, yeah, I was like laughing about like so they played Ganon. She played Ganon at first, and then switched to Marth the next two games, and I just like hilariously was like, I'll pick for you. I'll pick Pokemon Stadium and then FD for you, just to be funny because I thought that was hilarious. So that was fine. Like I was fine with that. But then my next round is against Lowercase Hero, which he obviously is like
Insane.
what, top 100 level?
Yeah, like he's insane.
Like, and that is a stark contrast from running into ostentatious round two winners of last year, because like he's like, you know, he's not on top 100, but he's like Georgia PR level, been PR'd in the past, but you know, not like super not SDeem's level of good Sheik, but like still pretty good. Messed me up. Wasn't like too surprised about that, but like Lowercase Hero is like, dog, this guy is like, he doesn't like lose to mid tiers. Like I was playing him and I'm like, this guy full hops so freaking much like every other good fox that I play against that doesn't quite know how to fight Ganon, but just resorts to doing this to bait things out. So I'm like kind of getting annoyed as it goes on, because I'm just like, all right, I'm just getting like top playered right now. This kind of sucks. So I wanted to at least end like the set by like not getting triple three stocked. Like the goal that I had at the end, like the second half of game 3, I'm just thinking, okay, I just at the very least get 2 stocked. And like I did kind of try to do that, but he just, I don't know, he outplayed me and got me off stage and just edgeguarded me and whatever. So I was kind of disappointed that, you know, got triple three stocked by a top 100 player. You know, it's not the end of the world. He's very good. You know, like I don't blame me for losing or not doing what I wanted to do. Like that just goes to show how good the guy is. So whatever. I shake that off. I'm fine. I'm like, all right, fine. And then like I report my match to the person running my pool, and he points me to say, you're playing the winner of like these 2 people over here that are in like the white and the black caps. And I'm like, okay. And I go over and I see that it's a Sheik versus a Bowser. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to play the winner of this. Like, this is, I'm not, this isn't going to be fun, is it? So funny enough, the Bowser wins against the Sheik. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. The last time I played a Bowser in tournament was at the previous tipped off, and that went to game 5. So I wonder how this is going to go. Watching him play, I could tell like he kind of knew what he was doing, but I've also played a lot against Sunrise Express's Bowser. So I've gotten Bowser practice, so I'm kind of pretty familiar with what to look out for in the matchup, like spacing around up B out of shield and stuff like that. So I actually was playing really well the first 2 games. I like very solidly beat him games 1 and 2, and I never was nervous about like losing either one of them. But then game 3, he literally muttered to himself, fuck it, and switched from Bowser to Link. And then we proceeded to have a very tight game 3 on Battlefield, and it literally went down to last stock, last hit. And I remember this so vividly. I I think I like got a grab on him or something, and I was about to connect a forward air, but he left a bomb on the side platform on Battlefield. So my
Ah.
forward air smacked into the bomb, blew me up, and then he was able to true combo into a forward air as a reversal, get me off stage, and then like dare me or up air me to kill me off the top.
Oof.
So he clutched it out, and
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, sure, whatever. That makes sense. I've fought like Links before, so I'm like, all right, let me go to Yoshi's because that's like obviously the best stage. And I proceed to like jump into his like double jump dare stuff. Like I keep getting hit by projectiles. He's playing pretty defensively, but like, and I'm like, man, I'm really kind of just dying off the top a bunch and getting hit by Link stuff that normally I'm like kind of prepared for. And so I lose game 4, and I'm just like, I'm stubbornly thinking, okay, like it was still went to last stock. I definitely like feel like I have this. I can just close it out if I just go back. Like I can do it. I know I can do it. But then game 5, he just like starts off with a stock lead, and then now I'm like, oh, this is not going well at all. Um, then it just as it progresses, it just I don't really make any sort of comeback. I can feel the mental strain of just getting tired of playing because I'm just getting linked, and I don't know, I'm like not really wanting to play much anymore once it like came down to the point where I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna win this. And yeah, it just kind of ended up with me getting reverse 3-0'd by this guy's link. And I'm just like, man, that sucks. I'd like came all this way and I was hoping to like do better than I did last year, and I just ran into like this pretty good, like I didn't even feel like I played particularly bad. Like there were some strategical things, like I definitely should have like forward aired into jab on his shield. Like I kept spacing my aerials as if like he was going to shield grab with a different character. But of course, Link doesn't need to worry about that because he has the grapple hook. So he can just, doesn't matter what distance you land from, he can shield grab you. But it's
Yeah.
so slow if you just jab every single time, then like you're in a very advantageous mix-up situation. And I just didn't play that. And that's like my fault for not taking advantage of that situation when it did happen. So I come out of it thinking, sure, I got outplayed, but I still feel bad about losing because like I had it, could have 3-0'd the guy, could have moved on to play like a different person, different character or whatever, and didn't end up happening. Like I went 1-2. I'm like, dang, that does not feel good. I don't feel good about this. And then I, for pretty much the rest of the day, was just like thinking to myself, like, why? Like I wasn't even feeling like really wanting to play or even compete, let alone compete in the game all that much. And now I'm like all the way out here in Atlanta. Driving back home is like a 4.5 hour drive. Like this just sucks. Like
Yeah.
I don't like mentally being in this spot when I'm not really wanting to play or compete in the game. So what I actually decide to do is like I try to take it easy. I just give myself time. I don't even like try to, I don't even try to like hang or socialize with anyone because I'm literally just not in the mood. Like anytime someone tried to talk to me, I'm just like I'm not in the mood. I'm sorry, and just had to kind of brush them off. Um, and I decided actually the next morning that I wanted to drive home because I like really thought about like what else is there for me to do with this tournament. I was like, well, I could try to play friendlies, but it just felt really pointless now that the tournament was done. Like because I want, like the motivation comes from I want to like prepare myself to actually play in the tournament. But then once the tournament's done, it's like I literally get a more consistent experience of actually playing the game at home by playing on Slippy if I like want to play in Melee than compared to going to a tournament here. So I don't really see the need in playing people at this tournament. Like it's not going to change much of anything, and I'm not really trying to do it for social reasons either.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I'm thinking like, okay, then what about top 8? Don't you want to watch top 8? And I'm like, I don't know. I sat for like several hours in the auditorium watching like, you know, matches on the big stage, and there were some moments where it was like kind of fun being in the crowd and laughing at some people's comments and stuff like that. Like it was okay, but I was still mentally just thinking like I don't really think I want to be here right now. And so I just decided Sunday morning, I'm just like, all right, I think I'm just gonna drive back home. I'm gonna save myself some time, drive home, and I don't feel like I'm gonna miss that much out. And you know, even with like I did see that like Mango won and all that, like sure, whatever. But I don't regret leaving early. I think that was the right call because I did genuinely want to do like other things, and I just felt like my time being spent there wasn't going to be worthwhile. And the problem with like previous tournaments and why they've been so miserable is when I get to this mindset of like I just kind of don't want to be there anymore. But like I'm stuck there, whether I have a ride, like I rode in someone's car, or I have a plane, and obviously you can't just like change the plane departure to be earlier than you originally scheduled it for. So like you end up feeling totally stuck. But at least in this situation, because I drove there and I wasn't in a hotel, I was at Zip's place. I could just leave whenever I wanted, and I was a lot more comforted with that idea. Like at least on Sunday, I didn't feel like, God, I just have to like sift through this entire long day and then drive back Monday, So
Yeah.
driving back, I felt content with my choice. Like I felt like fine. Like this is just, I'm gonna have plenty of time to like kind of think about how I feel and think about like what this means for tournaments. And I mean, at this point, now that I'm talking to you, like I've still thought of I've pretty much finished processing, thinking about it, and I've just pretty much reached the conclusion that I kind of can't really reliably go to bigger tournaments, like travel out of state and stuff like that unless I can do it on a whim, like trying to pre-register for something. Unless I can register maybe like a week beforehand, and even then, like you never know. Like the whole genuine want thing that I have can just change pretty quickly. Like literally in a day or two, I could go from I want to grind the crap out of Melee, I want to play this game a ton, I want to enter stuff, to I'd rather do other things, like literally in a very short period of time. And obviously, if I go to a Melee tournament and I'm feeling the latter feelings, then it's gonna make my experience suck. But if I if I am feeling good, then it's great. Then and if I am in a Melee mood, then it is a good experience. Because I was definitely in a Melee mood for last year's Tipped Off. That's part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. So what it ends up feeling like is it kind of feels like that let's go gambling meme where every fucking tournament I go to is like I'm doing a slot machine on seeing how my emotions feel with wanting to play the game, and I just keep getting dang it like every time.
Yeah, it feels really random, right?
Yeah, it feels really random, and I'm at the point now where like I'm almost 30. I really would like to just like when I travel, I want to travel and know that like it's going to be a new experience for me. It's going to be something different that I've never done before, or I get to see friends that I have never seen. So like travel plans are going to be more, or like I've been planning on wanting to go to like Awesome Games Done Quick at the beginning of next year, because I've been wanting to go to one of those. I've been wanting to go to a GDQ for like years now. And then I like I'm planning a trip out to Sweden next summer. So like if I'm going to travel, it's going to be for not Melee purposes for God, I don't know how long. I like when I got back on Sunday, I also like canceled all my plans for the other tournaments that I like registered for. So like I was planning on going to Patchwork, to Warehouse War 4, and to Supernova, and I canceled all of them because I cannot reliably try to go to tournaments and do this dumb gambling thing with my emotions and my like this commitment of seeing like how I'm going to feel on that day, and then if I end up losing, you know, out on that, then I just feel like crap, and it's not worth the time, it's not worth the money, it's not worth the effort, it's not worth the mental pressure of trying to prepare for the tournament. I'd rather just play Melee when I feel like it from the comfort of my home, play on Slippy, whether it's ranked or like ranked and unranked don't like even matter at this point. Like I don't care whether it's competitive or it's friendlies or we're goofing off or we're being serious or whatever. Just the accessibility of Slippy is certainly nice because I get to play it whenever the heck I want. Don't have that, you know, issue like I did with the tournament where I'm like struggling to find people to play, you know. I just it just gets really old going to these tournaments and just feeling like, you know, getting the short end of the stick, feeling like I don't want to be here, I'd rather do other things, sort of thing. Like the best case scenario I can think of in terms of entering a tournament is like I play it for like several days in a row and I'm really feeling a Melee groove and I'm like, I kind of feel like entering a local. Maybe I go enter something, again, not during the weekday because I don't really want to do that either. So it has to be something on the weekend, kind of on a whim. So it's going to pretty much have to be like something in North Carolina, in my state. Just have to like check to see if there's something upcoming and be like, you know, I could go for that. Because it's not that much of a commitment. Even if it is an hour and a half drive, it still doesn't feel like that much of a commitment. I can leave whenever the heck I want. And I just think that's just how it works for me. It sucks because like I don't know how I'm supposed to get better if I'm like limiting myself that much for the sake of my mental health. But like, yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at mentally with the game in a way. It's just these really sporadic moments where it's just going to be like, I want to play and then just leave it at that. And I think I'm relatively comfortable with it being in that realm of comfortability and whatever. Like obviously I still would like to improve and still have fun with the game. I don't doubt that I'm still going to like want to play and I am still going to have fun with the game at future points. But as far as like playing consistently, grinding, going to tournaments, trying to like really, really improve, I don't know. I just don't think it's in me anymore.
Well, if that's where you're at, then that's where you're at. Like it's like I think the thing, like I think that I think one of the things that you said was, you know, this is kind of the situation. It sucks. I'm like, why? Like, why is this? This doesn't sound so bad to me. Like, if your relationship with the game is changing, so it's just not like as much of a competitive endeavor, and you're kind of okay with just working at a slower pace in terms of improvement because it's just not as big of a priority, and you have other things going on, and you want to put time into it where you can, but like you don't want to sacrifice other things that you have. Like, that's okay. And,
yeah.
Like, it ultimately comes down to a choice, right? As long as we're doing what we actually want to do, the sacrifices that we make for the game don't feel like sacrifices because we understand that we're getting something out of it that is important to us. But it sounds like this isn't the case for you, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, but I bet when you, like, give up time for, say, something that you're more passionate about, you know, you do notice that you're like, okay, I understand I'm setting this thing aside, but it's fine because this is important to me, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that is exactly what's going on, I think. Unless you can think of a reason it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason why I feel like it's sort of a bad thing is it, like, when I really think about it, it's like, well, it's not, obviously it's not bad because I am still doing what I genuinely want to do. The reason I feel kind of bad about it is mostly because of the ego kind of things where it's like feeling like I have an obligation even though I don't actually. I don't really need to be obligated to anything, you know, but like also feeling like, oh, I want to represent my state better. I want to do better because I like the idea, you know. It's always I like the idea of doing X thing, but it's like, is that what you genuinely want to do?
Yeah, now that you've seen what's involved, like maybe it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing what's involved for a long time, and it's literally just a matter of like, I don't know. It's a flavor of the month kind of thing. Like sometimes it's Melee and sometimes it'll be a whole bunch of different other games or different things entirely. And that's just the way I work and I function. It blows my mind that some people really can just like compete in Melee and just do this like all the time. And they just get full fulfillment out of it. Like that's crazy to me because like that's a completely different like brain from mine. But like I definitely accept that like that's a thing, and it's just well not my thing. I guess I have to just be like, all right, that's fine. It's not a big deal.
I mean, having been one of those people, I would say that like it's usual, at least for me. I can't speak for everyone, of course. It's not like it was only the game. Like the game it's usually not the game, just the game that we're getting out of it. If you know what I mean. Like for me, the big thing is, my parents, like when my parents split, we didn't really have money. So, like, we were kind of like, there was a lot of chaos in the divorce as a result of that, which is just kind of how the way it goes sometimes. But I wanted to I got into games to feel like a sense of control. I wanted to feel like there was at least one area of, like, something I was doing that I actually had, like, agency over. Yeah. And I started with, like, card games, and then I kind of went to Pokemon. And, like, they were fine, and I understood the games were fundamentally fair, but, like, the chance element of it didn't appeal to me. So then I found this one, and I was just, like, the reason I got so good, and the reason I kind of, like, stuck with it and fell in love with it was because it was a place where I could feel in control of things. So I think that when a lot of people are playing this game, especially when they get super single, not everyone, but, like, certainly for me, it was also partly because it filled a need elsewhere.
Yeah, I guess it's just not really fulfilling that need anymore. Like maybe for like a certain period of time, like certainly not all 11 years I've been playing. Like I've felt like this plenty of times before. But yeah, like there's been times where it's felt good, but there's a lot of things that have also come up in like the past few years that have made Melee feel very pale and dull, like in comparison, especially when it comes to like social stuff. Like God, I have like so much more fun and fulfillment just like hanging out with like friends on Discord or VR chat and stuff like that than I do at like an actual tournament. Like it feels, I feel like almost completely out of place being at like a physical IRL tournament. Like it felt like alien to me almost. Besides like the people that I know, it's weird. It's like hard to even describe with words, but I think you can understand me where I'm coming from there.
You feel like an outsider, kind of.
Yeah, even though I've been at these things like for the longest time, and it's like it should feel fine, but it's like no, it doesn't. It's weird.
Well, keep in mind, like, cultures change, right? So
yeah,
like I've seen, like, as somebody who's been through the Bronze Age all the way up to now, like, it's, I remember when we got together in like somebody's basement, then we graduated to like churches, and then like we had like, we would get a community center if it was really ritzy, but now it's like full-on hotel venues. So yeah, no, it's just different now. Like things have changed. Yeah. Like the times have shifted. Heck, I remember when Brawl came out, and you were lucky if you could get like 5 people together at somebody's basement. Like, the Dark Ages, as we called them. Yeah. I think that like there's kind of how do I put this? I think one of the things that really that disconnects me from things, or like makes me kind of like feel weird sometimes, is I remember when it was like when Brawl came out, and like our locals went from like 16, 20, 24 people to like 3. And like we lost venues, we couldn't afford it anymore. Like it was just a struggle just to keep the lights on at certain places. And like in some communities just died out completely for a while until like Slippy resurrected them later or whatever it was, maybe the documentary. But it was just, it became it was just a struggle to, everyone was important in a way, because it was a struggle just to keep people in the community. So yeah, like there was kind of you kind of had to do that, And nowadays it feels like everyone's just kind of a number. There's like there's so many people that nobody is important. And that's that's so different from what I remember.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like as more and more time goes on, like I'm glad the game's still like healthy and it's still going, and there's still such a strong competitive scene and stuff, but it does feel like you have kind of, at least for me, you feel like I feel like I have less of an identity as time has kind of gone on. Some like I see like the testimonials of people like on Twitter and stuff that they're like, this is the best, like most fulfilling tournament. Like I love Melee kind of stuff. Like like I feel good for that. Like awesome. Like, you know, I wish I could feel like that too, but it's just, you know, I'm different. Like I feel like that's a part of why I feel kind of like an outcast is like that I don't see that many people share that same sentiment very often.
I think that my favorite tournament of all time was Pound 4. If I had to
Mm.
if I had to pick, because it's not the tournament I did best at, but I think it was just like it was such a melting pot of like all the top talent in the world at one time. Like we had the Europeans there, we had some from Japan, like we had Japan, we had people from Mexico, like Chile,
Mm-hmm.
like we had like Canada, the states, of course. Like I think other from the people who were considered like top maybe 200ish in the world, we were probably missing like less than a dozen of them.
Right.
So it was an insane tournament, and like with that level of talent there, everyone like you walked around, you have like 343 entrants, and like so many of them are good, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you go to a setup, you can just play with like top like there's so many setups you just played with top tippy top level players.
Yeah.
And like I think I got to play with like Phil, I got to play with Amsa, I got to play with like you like friggin' Kamaster, I think HBK, like it's so many people, like so many like powerful players of the time. And watching round 3 pools like was such a treat, because like you'd have like at an event that stacked, you'd have like a pool of like me, Reno, Uwa the Fox player,
There was also
Dreffen,
several rounds
Trail.
of round robin, right? Like that's
Yeah.
another thing. Like everything has to be double a limb for just the sake of logistics. Like it's not even like you know, like it's not like they don't want to do it. Like frick, if every TO could like have all the like if they didn't have to worry about logistics or time or number of setups or anything, like I'm sure every tournament would run round robin because that's what everyone wants. Like I would want to go to a tournament and play more than just 2-3 sets and then be done. Like I that's why I like ranked, because it's like at least with ranked it's like I can play like 10 sets and feel like I've gained something competitively out of it instead of just, you know, that's why I have a personal problem with like double elimination brackets, and I know there are other top players in the past that have felt the exact same way. So that's just another that you bringing up Pound 4 reminded me of that, because I do remember it was like round robin for a long ways through the bracket actually.
Yeah, and I kind of think I've heard of other formats that people are testing, like waterfall and stuff. I think one person tried Swiss, but it's just not like they haven't caught on yet. So yeah, if you're like,
Mm-hmm.
if you just if there's a risk of going 0-2 or like 1-2 or 2-2, like that sucks. Just you don't get to play much. And
Right.
especially like the reason, funnily, part of why I brought up I think Pound 4 is kind of pertinent is because I remember going into Pound 5, I had a similar like expectation of there just being like, yeah, there'll be tons of setups, like Plank did a great job, it's going to be amazing, and then like, yeah, it just wasn't quite as, there weren't as many setups, it was just harder to play. It wasn't, yeah, I don't think I played nearly as much that one. I was just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
bummed about it. Yeah, I think like day 1 was
Yeah.
Silent Wolf when we drove in. I played with him like on a setup for a while, and then I just didn't really get that as many friendlies after day 1,
Mm.
because everyone had come in and there just weren't enough.
Right. Yeah.
There were other problems with that tournament. We don't have to get into
Well,
history, but yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yikes. But yeah, I think that I think this is good because you're more aware of what you want from the game and what your relationship should be with it going forward, and really as
Yeah.
long as we're like being honest with ourselves with what we want, that's really the best way that we can improve in the way that like to the capacity that we want to.
Yeah.
It doesn't not everything needs to be like a race to the top of the mountain. Not everyone a lot of people are happy with getting up part way and then like, chilling in the, with the other people that kind of got to that point. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. Like there's a Sheik player in my region who's kind of like that. She's lovely and she's just like she knows that she could be better if she like RTC'd and did like the things, but she's just like, I hate that playstyle.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I respect the hell out of her for that, because it's this is not like she likes the interplay of decisions like of the predictions and such, and the RTC is not really conducive for that. So
Nope.
it's not how she wants to play, so she doesn't do it.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I stopped playing Sheik years ago. So
That's why I
feel
won't go
that
back
one.
to her. That's why I would never go back to her, because it's just
Right.
I hate the metronome grabs. I cannot stand the metronome grabs. Like screw those. No, thank you.
Right. Yeah. Like going back to kind of like why I even hit you up in the first place for lessons, because that was like right after Genesis, and because Genesis I was in that spot mentally where I was like, I don't really know what I want to do with the game. Like clearly I like went to this big tournament that I've been wanting to go do for a while, and yet I was trying to like not care about how I did, and yet when I played in the tournament I still cared about how I did and was upset about it, and like the whole I mean there's a lot of other things about Genesis 10 that were lackluster that I'm sure many people have made abundantly clear, but like I still felt directionless and lost, and that's why I felt like I needed a coach. And I will admit that in the past 4 months, it's definitely gotten a lot better as far as direction. Even if like the feeling on actually competing at bigger tournaments hasn't really changed all that much, at least you're right that like knowing what I want to do with the game is a lot more solidified now, and I feel more confident in it.
Yeah, I mean, and there's like it's one of the most important things we do as competitors is to know ourselves. Because if we don't know what we're willing to put in, if we don't know what our goals are, like if we don't know what's involved in like what's going to be involved in this and whether or not we're willing to do it, we can't make good decisions. That's the reality of it. So yeah, I'm glad honestly, like if the main takeaway from our time together is that you got to know yourself at least in this sphere a little bit better, then I consider that a massive win.
Yeah, it like, and I don't need to feel like too sad about it or anything, because it's like I think the things that I'm doing that are not melee that I have been passionate about, like going through like a retro gaming backlog for the most part, that's been fun. That's been really engaging. Like that's been like I can't tell you how many like conversations like I have with friends about like games that I never thought I was going to play, and it's like, dang, people know a lot about these like old school games like the SNES and stuff. Like I'm actually like socially feeling more fulfilled because like now that I've experienced these things, I have more context, I have more things to talk about. It feels great, like so I like still going in that direction, and but at the same time like I'm still gonna watch like melee streams, and I'm still gonna watch like other Ganondorf players and be like, dang, that makes me want to play melee right now, and I'll just boot it up and just go,
That's, I mean, like spur of the like if it's a spur of the moment thing, I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think I'm just a lot more content with that now, especially again, I don't care about the fact that I'm like turning 30 all that much. It's not like, oh god, I'm getting old. Like I'm not like I still mentally kind of feel like the way that I did when I was like 21 or so in some kind of way. Like I don't feel like I'm old. I don't feel like, oh, my body's falling apart kind of thing. I think people definitely over exaggerate that. If anything, I'm excited for my 30s because it's like New Game Plus IRL edition, there's a lot more exciting things to like see and experience, and I don't know, I'm glad I can at least be confident in knowing that like, hey, maybe competing in melee and trying to be like really good at melee is just not for me, or competing maybe in anything isn't like for me, but I can still see the fun in it. I can still see what's fun. Like for instance, I've even been like looking at some old school fighting games like Third Strike and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and just been I'm pulled into those games because of their legacy and also their aesthetics and like their sound design and some of the characters and the pixel art, and so like just from a outside aesthetic perspective, those games look sick and probably are fun to play and to learn. Do I want to get good at them? Probably not. Especially after my experiences with melee and other competitive games, is like I don't really think I'm gonna find much fulfillment in the pursuit of getting good at the game, and I'm glad that, like, hey, I spent the better part of my 20s figuring that out, so that for the remainder of whatever the hell I'm doing, I can be like, yep, I know the answer, and I don't need to question myself what ifs all the time like I did years ago.
Oh, you're supposed to question things in your 20s and like think that you know everything and like then get really frustrated when you don't. That's what your 20s are for. That's the whole point of them. Take it from somebody in their 30s. Yeah, like what you learn now is what you learn now, it's just like it never changes. Like as you learn more about yourself, you learn what things are kind of like constants and what things are not, and it's possible that maybe in another endeavor that you will be actually okay with competing because you'll find a way to, because it'll just speak to you. And in that case, like the things that you've learned, like with learning this game, are not like useless. They're quite valuable skills at that point. They just become used in a different part of your story, and that's okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's much else to say as far as like Melee goes. Like I said, I feel pretty content with not really going to much else, and of course, but I still allow myself, like, hey, if I like really want to go, then I should go. Like, I'm not gonna force myself to not do something I want to do, because I've done that in the past, and that's super not worth.
No, it never works. So what do you think what do you think you'll do with the time instead?
God, I mean, yeah, like I said, I think continue working on the backlog of games, because there's like so from 1990 to 2006, I think, was like the peak of what I like the most about video games, or like when I think like video games were at their best. And I'm particularly trying to like play a backlog of games, of either games that I have played before but haven't played in so long that I want to replay them, or just brand new games that I've heard about that I've never played, but they're like really old school classics and I want to play them. And I've got it covered for, like, I think I talked about this before with like GameCube and SNES and Game Boy Advance, but I've expanded that list since then to PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and Nintendo DS games. And I was even thinking about Dreamcast, but then I recently looked at the library, and there's only like a handful of games for that console that I'd actually want. So I'm like, I don't think I'll do Dreamcast, because there's like actually a bunch of substitutes for the games that I'm interested on that console. But yeah, like that's kind of like the current like passion project, is just playing through those, like these like backlog of older games, playing them on my CRT that's in my apartment, literally right behind me, that looks great. That thing has component and S-video in it, by the way, so I get like really good crisp quality on original hardware, which is awesome. So
what is S-component?
Yeah. So
no, I mean, like, I don't know what that is. Like, I know it. Yeah, I don't know TV specs. So
there's 3 different like ports, or like when you plug in your video cables, your cables into a TV, there's 2 different common types. The most common one that you'll see basically on every CRT is composite. That's the one where it has the 1 yellow video cable and the 2 audio cables, which are white and red. That's like a standard on pretty much every single CRT you'll ever see. It's like the fuzzy kind of, not the best picture quality, but it's the most common and, easiest one that people can, acquire. Component is this YRGB, these cables where, so the video cable on composite is 1 yellow cable, but the video cables on component are 3 RGB cables, red, green, and blue, and then the 2 audio cables. And that on component CRTs that are like, because not every CRT is going to have component on it. There's only so many. So, and finding a CRT with component input is already kind of difficult enough as is, compared to just finding one with composite, because like every CRT has a composite. But component provides a lot sharper and better picture quality for your game. So that's why, like, if you see like a PVM, because those are like the best quality CRTs you could possibly get. PVMs are played um, often on using component cables, but sometimes they're used. They use like not a VG. It's like a RGB like specific cable called like a RGB or something like that, and you get like basically almost emulator level of quality on a PVM. It's like kind of insane. But most of the time, it's just a Wii with component cables because the Wii component cables are super cheap. There are GameCube component cables, but they're like really expensive. At least the original ones, not like uh, made by like a third party company. Because there's some third party. There's like a third party like retro company that like makes pretty good replacement cables and stuff. But yeah, Component provides a sharper image, and then S-Video is another one that's similar to Component, where the video cable is in this very specific port called an S-Video port, and then there's like, I think, a second video cable or something, and then the two audio ports, and that also is like, again, a sharper image quality, but again, only so many CRTs have that. The CRT that I have has all three, which is cool, because then I can have three different cons. I can actually have three consoles hooked up in the back and then one hooked up in the front, all like on one TV, which is pretty crazy to think about. But yeah, that's the difference between all of them. And I've always been pretty crazy about like getting games to look as good as they can on original hardware on CRTs, because that just like fascinates me so much more than just playing something on my HD monitor with like, you know, the emulation quality. Like I've seen it so many times, it's just kind of boring to me. But the CRT stuff is like, this is because I was really interested in CRT quality stuff like this, like dating back to like 2018 2017, like for years. So it's been kind of like Melee's definitely brought that part out of me, but applying it to like the older school games, like stuff on SNES and PS1 and stuff like that, is like, that's what excites me, because I've seen it plenty with Melee. I want to see it with other games.
That sounds super exciting. I can tell you, I can hear the enthusiasm. Like it's, I think this is a good direction for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm pretty confident that like, you know, I want to keep going down this path, and I'm not even like streaming it. Like I kind of want to, I know for first time playing through games, I want to keep it really, really bare bones and just not have any distractions. That's also part of the reason why I like playing on this CRT that's behind me so much, is because I don't have easy access to my computer. If I don't bring my phone with me and I don't check it or anything, then like I'm just completely immersed in whatever game I'm playing. Like I was doing that while playing through Final Fantasy IV, and I definitely enjoyed it so much more as a result. And like I recommend pretty much anybody do that, because like I can understand wanting to, you know, stream, especially if you make streaming kind of a career. Streaming your first playthrough of a game is like kind of exciting, because it's like, oh, you know, I get to share this with my friends. But it's, for me, it's a big distractor, and especially if people like backseat when you don't really want them to, because even if you say like no backseating, people will still probably do it. And I just don't want to deal with that. So like on second playthroughs and parts where I like want to replay through a game that I've played through before, that's the stuff that I would consider streaming more. Or maybe like fighting games like, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or Third Strike. That would be stuff that I'd be more inclined or interested in streaming. But yeah, for like first time playthroughs, that's gonna strictly stay offline and stuff like that.
I think like a first time playthrough, like it sounds like it has extra significance, which makes sense. Like I can absolutely understand how it would. So yeah, I think that's a very reasonable boundary to set for yourself. Like, this is important to me, therefore I will be protecting it because that is what's important to me.
Yep. And I know the list of 200 games that I have, I've only gone through like what, 6. It's I very slowly go through it, because I'm not trying to rush it. I'm trying to like really get the experience out of all, even the games that I'm not like super crazy about. Like I recently finished Super Castlevania 4, and I thought, like, as much as I felt like that game was kind of a slog to get through, I still at least appreciated like some of the challenges. Like there were some satisfying parts about it. I am still glad that I played through the game. And now when I watch someone else play it, or I watch a speed run of it, I understand the context of the game so much better than just purely watching. Like you gain such an immense amount of appreciation for games once you've like played through them, compared to just being like, oh, I've just like heard of this game offhandedly and watched a couple like semi like parts of a speed run or something, and use like, oh, I get the gist of it. It's like, no, you if you play through it, it changes your world. Like I like knew nothing about Final Fantasy IV, and then after I finished it, I'm like, I want to watch like every video on this game. I want to learn more. I want to know the speedrun tech and stuff. Like, it's fun to like dive deep into something like that, and then it's just like, and I just have it for 200 games, and then even when I finish that 200, it's like there's probably more that I'm gonna want to do. Even with like even though like the Nintendo Direct yesterday, it's like, wow, there's a whole bunch of games even in this Direct that I like want to play, and I'll figure out how to get to those. But yeah, no, it's exciting. Like getting through 200 games is gonna take me like probably a couple of years at the pace that I'm going, but I'm fine with that. Like, I got no problems with that. Like, that's fine.
Well, I was gonna say, it almost sounds like that's a feature, not a bug, right? Like,
yeah,
you're
exactly.
excited. You're excited for the amount, for like having some. Yeah, this is something you care about.
Yeah, exactly. So, who knows? There's a very I wouldn't be surprised if I come across a game that I just end up loving so much that I get really involved in that game, whether it be like speedrunning or competitively there. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know, but I'm excited to see what I find out.
I think that I think you're going to find something. I don't know if it's going to be what you expect, but I think you're going to find something. And yeah, I just hope that it brings you the kind of joy that you're feeling right now, and then some, because I've really enjoyed working with you. I'm glad that we learned this about you, and that you were able to like kind of figure out what you wanted from the game, and even if it's like not like what you thought it was, that's kind of these surprises I think are important because they get us closer to understanding who we are, and that in itself is always a worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah, so I still do like appreciate like all the lessons that you've given, because I do think they're still very worthwhile, and heck, I still even like want to watch through a bunch of like the last few or so, because I don't know, I just like rewatching the lessons, so I definitely applaud you for like uploading them and stuff like that, like having easy accessibility to them, because that's been really nice.
Oh, no problem. So so I know you said you like rewatching them, but like what do you get out of that? Because I do it because I don't like paywalling that kind of education, like that, or that kind of information for educational purposes, because I think it's good. Also, I feel like we have pretty good chemistry generally, so it's like it's a good advertisement, honestly. But no, but real talk. So what else, do you get anything else out of it, or is it just like you like rewatching it?
I mean, I like it is kind of mostly I just like rewatching it, but I also get to like think it's like a reflective thing where I get to think about like, okay, how was I like approaching this problem, and like what have I learned since then, that like now that I have the hindsight that I do have, watching this video is like, oh, things make more sense now, or oh, like I get why this was the focus for the day, or like, like it's kind of like insight. Like I watch it again to see like what like kind of insight I get, purely because time has passed and I have learned new things and stuff like that. So even some of your other students lessons I've been watching, like people that I'm like familiar with, or like friends that I've been acquainted with before, I'm like I'm curious, how does their lesson with KirbyKaze look like, and I'll like tune into that, because I think that's also kind of inform, like not even like for my own benefit, but like just to see like, hey, what's the thing that they're struggling with, or what's the thing that they want to work on, just purely out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, so who is somebody that you would watch?
I watched your lesson with Ryuta, because actually I knew him from being like a pretty good ice climbers player in North Carolina for like quite a while. People were even talking about that he was going to get PR'd at some point, because he was actually pretty darn good. But him coming to you to talk about like card game stuff, but like mentality stuff around the card game stuff was like, ooh, like it is still very applicable. A lot of these competitive aspects are still very applicable even to card games. So it was very cool to like see that be talked about in that lesson.
Hey, they feel pressure just like everyone else.
Yep.
Okay, so I do. This has been. This is clearly goodbye, at least for like for formal things. I might still bother you, like talk to you about hell of a boss here and there. And
Oh
such.
no, please. If you I want to talk to me about more like Falco stuff or Nest stuff or Hell of a Boss, whatever. I don't care. Hit me up. Like I love talking to you, just in general. Like you're welcome to do that at any time.
Wonderful. Then I will definitely take you up on that offer. But I yeah, like I guess you're the first student I had who's formally graduated. So I just want to
Hmm.
say thank you for like a great experience and a great experience. I don't think I could have asked for a better first graduate. And yeah, whatever
Hmm.
your future endeavors hold, yeah, well, I'm sure I'll find out about them because I'm gonna bother you. But like, yeah, yeah, thank you for this. This
You're
was, I
welcome.
think you are I could not have asked for a better first student to graduate.
Aw, thanks. That means a lot. I would hug you if I could.
Aw. All right, so I'll let you go because I do have Boyd now. But we'll talk.
Hmm.
We'll stay in touch, and yeah, tell me about it if you think of any good like really good games. I like RPGs with a fun magic system, so
Hmm.
yeah, just send them my way, and I'll take a look.
100%.
All
I'll
right,
see you around.
take care, Redman. We'll talk.
Take care.